This is KZSU 90.1 FM coming to you from Stanford University. I'm sitting here in Amman, Jordan, with one of Jordan's most talented young artists. Her name is Sadouf, and her gallery is titled or called Sadouf Gallery. I'm sitting here sipping some good Turkish coffee with the artist herself, whose gallery is frankly fascinating, colorful, and quite enigmatic in nature. Sadouf, thank you so much for sitting here with us today and sharing your vision and your creative outlet with our listeners at KZSU 90.1 FM.
You're most welcome, Dr. Ramzi.
Thank you, Sadouf. The hospitality of the Jordanian people has been remarkable, as has been the reception of your art. I've kind of looked at your Facebook page for Sadouf Gallery, and in it I saw quite a sample of art that you've produced yourself. Yet it was kind of difficult for me to categorize your art. How would you categorize the kind of vision that you put on the canvas?
Actually, I have some realistic watercolors which express our heritage here in Jordan and some other parts of the Middle East. And then, as you know, artists go into phases and they just go, for example, I'm experimenting with oils and acrylics, and now I've moved to a different stage, which is like more inward, looking inwards, more spiritual, and I'm painting figures expressing the relationship between men and women, etc., with acrylics actually.
And that would be the kind of series that we see on the website right now. This kind of, it's very difficult to describe for me, these kind of silhouetted, colorful shapes, some with musical instruments and some without. Where does the inspiration for the current series come from?
My inspiration for the current series comes from mainly personal experiences, social, and actually they're more of a personal. You go into phases, into different experiences, and then this all is reflected onto my canvas.
And how long have you been putting your vision on canvas, let's put it that way?
I started many years ago, but I can say that I've been selling my artwork for like the past 20 years. I have had some exhibitions in Saudi Arabia, in Jordan, in Bahrain, and
do you come from an artistic background, an artistic family growing up?
Sort of. My father was interested in furniture, in kilims and carpets and Persian carpets, etc. And that was an influence actually. We grew up. I have a sister as well who's an interior designer. Actually, I am an interior designer, but I'd rather paint. Mm-hmm. That's really about it.
So you would call your dad an influence growing up, seeing...
Yes, definitely, yes.
And any other influences, perhaps not familial or immediate, but in terms of other artists?
Yes. I look at some of the American artists. For example, Jackson Pollock had a great influence on my work. I did some action painting, and that was called... in Arabic, I had an exhibition. It was called Zay Arabia, which means like spring in English. And I sold quite a few paintings in that exhibition. And that, when an artist sells his paintings, it feels so good for people to collect your paintings. It doesn't have to do anything with material or money or financial aspects, but in general, when somebody buys your painting, it feels great.
Yeah, yeah. And do you feel as a woman, as an artist in Jordan, that the obstacles you face in terms of showcasing your paintings, because after all you are an artist, are there obstacles?
No, not really. No, not really.
How has the reception been to your paintings?
Great, actually.
In general?
No, they like women artists here because we don't have so many, and I'm specialized in watercolors. Not so many people use that medium. No. Actually, there are no obstacles, really.
And do you envision yourself sort of going on a more international exhibition route?
Definitely, Ramzi, definitely.
Have you had a chance to exhibit outside of the Arab world yet? Or is this something in the works?
Not yet, but I have some plans, hopefully.
And one of those plans, we hope, Sadouf, is for you to come to Stanford University.
I'd love that. I would love that.
Where we could organize an exhibition for you at the Cantor Museum, which is Stanford University's official museum, welcoming these days a lot of women artists coming from the Arab world, whose vision sort of attempts to defy the stereotype and the traditional genres as established in art. Do you feel in some way that your work contributes towards a discourse that centers on these issues?
Actually, they might. It depends on, I might have to do a more specific view of, the Arab world, and then I can display it over at Stanford or wherever I can, I have the chance.
Absolutely. And looking around at your paintings here, one of the things that catches my eye immediately is the Arabic calligraphy paintings that are frankly a surprise. I didn't quite see them on the website or on the Facebook site.
They were supposed to be a surprise.
They are. So maybe we don't want to unveil them yet. But the art of calligraphy, to many listeners in the United States and many in our American audience, they don't quite understand that calligraphy itself can be an art and integrated onto the canvas with beautiful designs. Where does that come from, the kind of love for calligraphy or knowledge of it?
I believe that an artist should have the knowledge of different religions, different cultures. I'm a Christian. I have read the Bible, and then I have read the Quran. I used some verses from the Quran, integrated them with into my paintings, abstract paintings actually. So, and some verses I have as well translated into English. So you can read the Arabic, and if you're not able to read the Arabic, then there's a translation in English. And
are those Quranic verses you're speaking of, or Bible verses?
No,
both?
They are Quranic, and some are poetry. Actually, some verses of the poetry are mine.
Wow, you've written your own poetry.
A little. I've tried some. I've read so many poetry books in Arabic, and I've actually, put them down onto my paintings.
And so what a great way to combine your prose, your poetry writing with art. But back to the kind of integration of Quranic verses into art and Christian influences. Is that in any way considered controversial in a country like Jordan, a Muslim country, trying to sort of bring both together, or are you doing it on separate canvases?
No, they're not. No, wait. I live in a country where Muslims and Christians live very peacefully together, and I don't think there's a controversy even if I show both Christian and Quranic verses from the Bible and the Quran. I really liked, or maybe you could say fell in love with, some Quranic verses, and that's why I had to show them off. And I would really like to show them maybe internationally, so people would understand what Islam is all about. It doesn't have anything to do with violence. The actual book, the Quran, is a beautiful read.
Yeah, and I think that's very important because at least in the United States and on certain media outlets, there seems to be this representation of the Quran as something almost demonic or dangerous to Christianity, when in fact what you're saying, I think, is that they go along as a beautiful message of peace, whether it be Christian or... But you haven't yourself done any kind of Christian or Bible verses. In your campuses, you've concentrated thus far on Quranic verses that have inspired you in some way?
Actually, they have, yes.
Can you give us an example of maybe an ayah or a verse that kind of can function philosophically to uplift or inform a person?
There are so many verses in the Quran that really reminds you of the one and only. And there's one verse that says قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, which means it has a, in Arabic it says قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And that's the translation of that in English is, say, He is God, the one and only, God the eternal, absolute. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, and there is none like unto him.
Very nice.
So it always reminds you that there is a God. So many people, maybe, they don't believe that there is a God. They think of a light or some sort of, I don't know, a force. But personally, I do.
Yeah. And that's clearly shown in the painting. Especially the verse that you just quoted, Sadouf, is actually one that you've put on canvas with this beautiful, colorful background. But not only that, you've, as you mentioned, translated the verse into, or interpreted the verse into English. So this was one of those verses that are available as part of a series that you've done now?
Yes, they're the three last verses. No, they're not called verses. They're called ayat.
Well, they're verses.
Verses in the Quran.
In the surahs.
In the surahs, yes. Yes, the ending of the Quran.
And you've made them on three separate canvases, and each one begins one of the verses, and then it translates. So they really are envisioned as a set.
That's right. Yes.
And this seems to be.
And the background. Sorry, excuse me.
Yes, please go ahead.
And the background matches. The three of them are a set. The painting itself.
And speaking of sets, I mean, and looking around at your work, you seem to, but you seem to work in sets.
I do
a lot.
Like twins.
Twins.
Yes.
Although these would be triplets.
Yes. That's true.
And twins. So when you begin, putting your vision onto the canvas and painting, do you envision a set, or does that come on its own?
No, it comes on it naturally. I do one thing. For example, the last, two paintings I have done, which were about music. I started with a woman playing the violin, and then I thought, well, there's a cello and there's a flute and there's a harp, so I did like four. 2 women standing and 2 women sitting down.
But you didn't necessarily begin wanting to create a set
not really.
of 4.
But usually people, some people do not know how, when they buy paintings, they do not know how to display them in their home, and it's much easier for them to take 2, for example, and put them as a set on a wall that matches their sofas, for example. And
looking around at your use of color, there seems to be quite a bit of that in your work. Have you experimented with genres that could be a little less, let's say visually...
Actually, the colors I have used, they almost every phase had a different influence. Some of my paintings are really, black. And now, for example, I'm painting with much light, using much lighter colors. So it depends really on the mood and on the inspiration and on the situation where I am in.
And so you really draw on personal experiences in terms of maybe, so what we call in English cathartic, this kind of cleansing experience. Instead of dealing with certain issues through writing or through therapy, you actually get just deal with it through your art.
Yes, yes. Actually, once you start painting, it's like you are in a trance. You're just consumed by a painting. The colors you use, the combination of colors, whether it's an abstract or painting a rose or just anything really.
And were you classically trained, Sadouf, or is this a natural talent that has evolved and sort of
Some people say it's a natural talent. I've been painting since childhood, but I had my diploma in spatial design in England. I studied for 4 years, and art was, a basic thing, and we had to learn from scratch the perspective and so on, and the colors and the use of colors, the combination. And then I evolved this thing. I really enjoy painting. It really expresses my feelings very well, and I hope people like them when enjoy my paintings.
Well, clearly they do, and that's just judging from the reaction I've seen here in Jordan in terms of people who have seen your art and people who have bought your art, but also people who have sort of come across it through the website, through the Facebook page. There is no website at the moment?
No, I only have Sadouf Gallery on my Facebook.
That's SADOUF Gallery, and anybody can kind of join that group and be updated on exhibitions going on, as well as get a sample of art. I mean, at the risk of sounding a little bit commercial, are people allowed or able to purchase the art through the website, or is that something that they have to do in person?
They can always contact me if they like any of the paintings I have displayed on my Facebook.
Do you have your contact info on that, or
yes.
is that something you'd like to give us here on the radio?
No, I do actually, yes.
Okay,
yes.
So you have your email address on there?
Yes,
and people can contact you with references to the painting and then negotiate a price. That sounds really wonderful. Let me turn to Sadouf Gallery. It carries your name. It is definitely a source of pride for you. It's a result of a journey that I know has not been easy, but here you are sitting in your own gallery surrounded by these beautiful paintings that mean a lot to you.
That's
How does it feel to be in this position, and did you envision yourself to be here when you were still a budding artist?
Actually, not really. You never know what comes along, but I really feel myself and at peace, surrounded by my paintings. I observe them every day and see what I can do, if I can do better. And I am actually enjoying this phase in my life.
So what's next for Sadouf?
Oh,
that's a very difficult question to ask.
I really have no clue. I mean, I live day by day now, and whatever comes along, I'm happy with it and I accept it. Thank God.
Absolutely. We say in Arabic, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
But at the same time, do you envision yourself continuing
yes, definitely,
your artistic journey and not sort of foraying into a different kind of...
I don't think I can. I used to work, for example, for a magazine here in Jordan, which is about, interior design. And then yet again, I came back to my own studio and I'm, painting. I can never stop painting, I doubt, no.
And your studio here in Amman, Jordan, is open every day, or?
Yes, from like 11 in the morning till 9 in the evening, and I'm always here.
So the artist herself is here for...
Yes.
Do you do special orders, let's say, or if people had a certain vision, or do you just paint from your own...
No, I do custom-made paintings if I can, if I feel I can do them. Some restaurants, some coffee shops have bought several from me. They wanted a certain theme, and I actually performed that.
Is it more difficult for you to translate somebody else's vision than your own? Seems like a silly question, but how challenging is it for you to kind of understand what the person wants?
I probably understand what they want, but sometimes, for example, the outcome does not match their needs.
And so you kind of reinvent and re-envision.
Yes. I mean, I might do several for a person until he decides on one, for example.
Well, Sadouf, as an Arab American, I'm so proud of you to see an independent woman translating her vision so independently onto the canvas and living in this beautiful space in which we've been talking. Sadouf Gallery is certainly a safe haven from the chaotic traffic outside. We've been sitting here with you surrounded by colors, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time to take us into your world today and to kind of help us interpret some of your paintings.
Thank you, Dr. Ramzi, and thank you for your time, and thank you for enjoying my paintings and my space as well.
Thank you for